My name is Julia Moore, and according to the Sunnyvale HOA, I was never supposed to exist. At least that's what the sideways glances and whispered, "She doesn't belong here" comments told me as I slipped into the back row of folding chairs at Gregory Moore's Memorial in the community park. The morning sun poured down on the perfectly manicured lawns and identical beige houses that lined every street like soldiers standing at attention. White picket fences gleamed. American flags fluttered at the exact 45-degree angle the bylaws demanded. And not a single blade of grass dared grow longer than 2 inches. None of the 200 residents acknowledged me. I pulled my black cardigan tighter, watching Karen Mallory take the podium in her perfectly tailored navy blazer with the little gold HOA president pin shining like a metal sheet awarded herself. Gregory Moore was more than a neighbor to me. Karen's voice rang out, honey sweet and dripping with fake grief. He was my grandfather, my mentor, the man who founded this entire community and taught us all what real neighborhood values look like. Nobody understood him the way I did. Nobody loved him more. The words hit like a $500 fine for an unapproved mailbox. I bit my tongue until I tasted copper. Memories flooding back of Grandpa Gregory teaching me to plant tomatoes in the tiny backyard garden he helped me hide from the HOA inspectors. His calloused hands steadying mine while we argued over whether marigolds violated the approved plant palette. The smell of his pipe tobacco on the porch while he told me stories about building Sunnyvale from one dusty field into the model community. It was today. But according to Karen, those moments now belonged only to her. I recognized every face in the crowd. Board member Linda sat front row in her severe black dress, looking like a Victorian widow who'd just discovered a dandelion. Her husband Robert checked his phone every 30 seconds, probably texting Karen updates. Their kids, my former community siblings, filled the row, each one carefully avoiding eye contact with me. It was like I was a ghost haunting the annual block party. The last time most of them had seen me was 3 years ago at the 4th of July cookout. I'd shown up with Grandpa's favorite homemade apple pie, only to hear Karen announce loudly, "Oh, Julia, we didn't think you'd make it. The main table is full, but you can sit at the kids' folding table if you'd like." That was the beginning of the end. Invitations to HOA events stopped coming. My name vanished from the monthly newsletter. Birthday card for the community potlucks mysteriously got lost. Every group photo posted on the Sunnyvale HOA Facebook page either cropped me out or was taken after I'd already been asked to leave. I had been systematically erased like someone had taken digital whiteout to my entire existence in this so-called family neighborhood. Grandpa Gregory's greatest joy was gathering everyone around him. Karen continued, gesturing dramatically to the crowd while dabbing at eyes that stayed mysteriously dry. He often told me I was the granddaughter he was proudest of, the one who truly carried on the Moore family values and protected our property values. A bitter laugh escaped my lips. The woman next to me shot me a look that could have triggered an immediate violation notice. Karen's eyes flicked my way for half a second, triumph flashing across her Botox-smooth face before she resumed her Oscar-worthy performance. The truth was, I hadn't seen Grandpa in over a year. Not by choice. Every time I tried to visit, something came up. Karen was already there, and he needed quiet. He was resting. The house was being inspected for compliance. The excuses piled up like overdue fine notices. My last phone call with him had been brief and confusing. "Julia, is that really you?" They told me you moved away. Now he was gone, and I'd never get to tell him the truth. Never get to ask why he let them shut me out. Never get to say goodbye properly. As Karen wrapped up her eulogy with something about carrying on his legacy and protecting what he built, I stared at Grandpa's house at the end of the cul-de-sac. The white trim needed touching up. The porch swing hung slightly crooked, but it was still the place where I'd spent every weekend as the only outsider he'd ever welcomed with open arms. The service ended. People stood, murmuring condolences, forming tight little cliques. I remained seated, watching them flow around me like water around a rock that didn't belong in their perfect stream. Not one person met my eyes. Not one person said my name. Julia. I turned. Mark Ellison, Grandpa's lawyer, stood beside my chair in a wrinkled gray suit, clutching a leather portfolio like it held state secrets. The will reading is in 30 minutes. In the main house. You need to be there. I almost laughed. I don't think I'm welcome anymore. His weathered face creased. Your name is in the will. Miss Moore. Gregory was very specific. Before I could argue, he was gone, weaving toward the house. I sat there another moment, watching Karen hold court by the refreshment table, accepting hugs with practiced grace. Linda whispered in her ear. Both glanced my way. Let them look. In 30 minutes, I'd hear whatever token Grandpa had left me, probably his old fishing rod or a faded photo album. And then I'd drive back to my little house on Maple Lane, to my HR job, and finally accept what they'd been telling me for years. I wasn't part of this community anymore. The living room of Grandpa's house felt smaller than I remembered, packed with board members and residents on worn leather sofas and folding chairs arranged in a semicircle facing the stone fireplace where Mark Ellison stood. I chose a seat near the door, an easy escape when this was over. Karen sat front and center on the antique settee, Linda beside her. They'd changed into casual clothes that still screamed, "I'm better than you." Karen kept texting with manicured nails, clicking like tiny hammers driving in fines. "Thank you all for coming," Ellison began, adjusting his glasses. Gregory Moore was very particular about his final wishes. He updated this 6 months ago. Linda sniffed audibly. We all know Gregory's intentions. He made them quite clear. Ellison ignored her and opened the portfolio. He read through smaller bequests, tools to Robert, grandmother's china to Linda, the piano to Karen's mother. Murmurs of approval rippled through the room. I waited for my name, expecting the fishing rod at best. Now for the primary estate, Ellison said, and the room went graveyard quiet. The house, the lot, all associated property and remaining assets, I leave to my granddaughter, Julia Moore. The silence was so complete you could hear the HOA violation clock ticking. Karen shot to her feet, face flushing crimson under her perfect makeup. That's impossible. There must be some mistake. Ellison stayed calm. No mistake. The will is clear. Julia inherits the house. Karen's mother stood beside her. Gregory promised me the house. I've been taking care of him, visiting every week, managing everything while Julia hasn't even been around. Karen waved a folder. I have a power of attorney. Papers showing Grandpa wanted me to have everything. This one must be old. Ellison's voice cut through the chaos. This was updated 6 months ago. It supersedes everything. And any family member or board member who contests forfeits their individual bequests. That quieted them for half a second. Ellison turned to me, kindness in his eyes for the first time. Julia, I need to give you something. He pulled out a worn leather journal. Your grandfather insisted this be given to you personally. His message, when they say you're not part of this community, show them this. Karen hissed. This is fraud. Julia hasn't been part of this neighborhood for years. She abandoned Gregory. She's probably not even really connected to us. I demand a full residency verification. Ellison closed his portfolio. The will stands. Julia, as legal heir you now have full access. Here are Grandpa's keys. He handed me the ring with a rabbit's foot keychain I'd given him at 8. You can't be serious, Linda spat. She'll sell the house to developers. She doesn't care about our property values or legacy. Ellison gathered his things. I think Gregory knew exactly what he was doing. Good day. He left, and suddenly I was alone with the people who used to call me family. They stared like I was a code violation that had just walked in. Get out, Karen said quietly, Dangerously. Get out of this house right now. I stood on shaky legs, clutching the journal. I didn't ask for this. Of course you didn't, Linda sneered. You just swooped in like a vulture. I wanted to scream that they were the ones who'd pushed me out, who'd stolen my home from me with every fake find and edited photo. Instead, I walked to the door, their stares burning my back. You have 48 hours, Karen called after me. 48 hours before I file to contest everything. Enjoy the house while you can. That evening, I sat cross-legged on my living room floor with Grandpa's journal open. His spidery handwriting hit me like a warm hug. If you're reading this, Julia, they've finally shown their true colors. Page after page was dated evidence of every slight, every manipulation, every lie. March 15th. Karen told me you couldn't come to the Easter potluck because you were too busy violating parking rules again. Spoke to Julia later. She never received an invitation. June 3rd. Karen showed me the community picnic photos. Julia had been edited out of every single one. When I asked why, she said it was better for neighborhood harmony. August 22nd. Linda told me Julia had been spreading rumors about me downtown. Investigated myself. Complete fabrication. They had intercepted my mail, deleted voicemails, told Grandpa I'd moved to California when I lived 4 blocks away. The worst entries showed his confusion. I don't understand why Julia won't visit anymore. Have I done something wrong? My phone buzzed. Val Martinez, my best friend and coworker, texted, "You okay? You disappeared after the service." 20 minutes later, she was on my floor, eyes widening as she flipped pages. Julia, this is insane. Look, times, dates, even recordings. Tucked behind a receipt was a tiny USB drive. Val plugged it in. The first audio file hit play. Karen's voice filled the room. Be realistic about Julia. Gregory. She's not really part of this community. Not like us. There were always questions about whether she truly belonged here. Maybe it's better if she stays away. Grandpa's voice. Firm. Julia is my granddaughter. I don't want to hear any more of this nonsense. Karen continued. I'm just trying to protect the neighborhood values. She only comes around when she needs something. I gasped. I had never asked for anything except help with medical bills once. Val played another. Linda this time. Gregory. I hate to tell you this, but Julie has been spreading rumors about Karen downtown, saying she's after your house. It's ruining poor Karen's reputation. More files. More proof. Photos of the real community events with me right beside Grandpa. Pie eating contests. Flag Day parades. Summer barbecues. Contrasted with the edited versions posted online where I simply didn't exist. A folder labeled Financial Irregularities contained bank statements showing Karen had withdrawn over $200,000 from the HOA Treasury over 3 years. Cash for personal expenses, checks written to herself for emergency repairs that never happened. At the bottom of the journal was a letter in Grandpa's shaky hand. My dearest Julia, they kept you from me, but they could never keep you from my heart. Every lie they told made me document the truth harder. The house is yours because you're the only one who loved Sunnyvale for what it was, not what it was worth in developer dollars. They'll fight you, but you have the truth now, and the truth is stronger than their bylaws. Butterfly, you were always my favorite. That's why they tried so hard to make me forget. All my love, Grandpa. Val's face set with steel. We're going to destroy them. Every lie, every stolen dollar, every photoshopped photo. They want war? They just got one. By 6:30 the next morning, I was at Grandpa's house using his keys. The place looked exactly as I remembered. Family photos lining the hall. His reading chair by the window, but something felt wrong. New furniture in the guest room. Women's clothes in the closets. A laptop with Karen's monogram case on the kitchen table. Mail addressed to her everywhere. She had already moved in before he was even cold. In the study, I found file folders labeled Sunnyvale Redevelopment Project. architectural plans for luxury condos, marketing materials, correspondence with Pinnacle Development Group. The proposed sale price made my stomach turn. $3.2 million for the entire block if they could force enough homeowners out with fines. Finding everything you need, Karen stood in the doorway in silk pajamas, makeup already flawless. "Get out of my house," I said quietly. She laughed. "Your house? Oh, Julia, you really don't understand how this works. I've been living here 8 months, paying the bills, maintaining the property, taking care of everything while you played HR manager. You mean while you were stealing from Grandpa and planning to sell his neighborhood?" Her smile faltered. I held up the Pinnacle folder. "Really? These contracts suggest otherwise." She moved closer. "Predatory. That's the difference between us. I think about the future. You're stuck in the past, clinging to childhood memories and illegal tomato gardens. Is that why you told everyone I wasn't really part of the community? Why you edited me out of every photo and convinced them I was a walking violation notice?" Karen perched on the desk. "I didn't have to convince anyone. They already knew the truth. Your mother was a waitress who got knocked up. There were always questions about whether you truly belonged here." The insult to my dead mother made my hands clench. Grandpa never doubted it. Grandpa was a sentimental old fool. But I have proof now. She showed me her phone. Official-looking community membership verification. Results claiming I shared no genetic or value markers with a Moore legacy. For a second, doubt hit me. Then I remembered the journal. "When did you get my DNA? Does it matter?" "It matters because Grandpa wrote about how you tried to fake this exact test last year. How you paid someone at the lab for false documents." I showed her the journal entry. He even kept the real results he had done himself, confirming I'm his granddaughter. Her face went white. "What journal?" "The one he left me. Documenting every lie you told. Every dollar you stole from the HOA Treasury. Every time you poisoned him against me. Did you really think he didn't notice the missing money? The forged violation notices you slapped on my door while I was at work. The fact you were showing his house to developers while claiming you were taking him to board meetings." Karen grabbed her laptop. "Those recordings were made without consent. They'll never hold up." Val stepped from the doorway. "Tennessee is one-party consent. Karen, as long as Grandpa consented to recording his own conversations, they're completely legal." "Hi, I'm Val Martinez. I've been helping Julia organize the extensive evidence your grandfather collected." Karen's hand shook. "This isn't over. I have power of attorney. I have documents proving Grandpa wanted me to have everything. I pulled out copies." "You mean these where you practiced forging his signature? Pretty sloppy for a multi-million-dollar fraud." She snapped. "I deserve this. I put in the time. I played the perfect granddaughter. The mask cracked." "Played? I just loved him." Karen screamed. "You think you've won? My board has connections. We'll contest this until you're bankrupt from legal fees, and everyone in Sunnyvale will know you're not real community. I'll make sure of it." Val smiled coldly. "Go ahead. The financial fraud alone is enough for criminal charges. Add elder abuse, forgery, and conspiracy to commit real estate fraud. You're looking at serious prison time." Karen stormed out, then turned to the door. "That verification test is real. I had someone at the clinic pull your blood work. You're not a Moore. You're nobody." After she left, Val hugged me. "You okay?" I looked around the study at the photos of us planting tomatoes, at his books and pipes. "She's wrong. I know who I am. I'm Gregory Moore's granddaughter. And I'm home." The law offices of Ellison and Associates were on Main Street. Val and I arrived at 9, carrying boxes of organized evidence. Mark Ellison greeted us with coffee and grim news. Karen's attorney called at 7. They're filing an emergency injunction to freeze the estate, challenging the will on undue influence and mental incapacity. They're also claiming you're not a legitimate community heir and submitted fake verification results. I placed our thicker folder on the table. We have Grandpa's journal documenting Karen's attempted fraud, plus the real lab results confirming everything. Bank statements showing $230,000 stolen from HOA accounts. Forged violation notices with practice signatures. Audio of Karen discussing selling the entire neighborhood while Grandpa was confused in the background. Ellison's eyes widened. This isn't just a contest anymore. This is criminal fraud, elder abuse, forgery. He picked up the phone. We have a hearing tomorrow at 2. Karen's team will be there. Prepare for ugly. That afternoon, we drove back to find a black Mercedes in the driveway. Linda stood on the porch with a locksmith while Karen supervised movers loading boxes into a rental truck. You can't change those locks, I said. Linda's face was stone. My daughter has power of attorney. Ellison stepped out behind me. That power of attorney terminated at Gregory's death. I have a cease and desist and a sheriff's notice. Anyone removing property will be charged with theft. The deputy arrived. Put everything back. No property leaves until the court decides. Karen's mask shattered. Do you have any idea what you've cost me? I already spent that developer deposit. I have contracts. People are expecting me to deliver this neighborhood. Then you should have waited until it was actually yours, Ellison said calmly. Karen screamed. It was supposed to be mine. I did everything right. I visited every week. I played the perfect president. Val held up her phone. By the way, I've been recording this entire interaction, including your admission about the deposit. Thank you for making our case easier. That night on the porch swing, Val and I organized notes for court. They're coming at you with everything, fake verification, mental capacity claims, your absence from events. I touched the journal, but I have the truth. Grandpa made sure the truth would be enough. By morning, my phone was exploding. Board members who hadn't spoken to me in years suddenly had opinions. Linda called first. You conniving little rule breaker. How dare you drag our community name through the mud? Karen called me in tears. Criminal charges? Have you lost your mind? I hung up. The HOA Facebook page was on fire with Karen's tearful video claiming I'd stolen her inheritance and was trying to have her arrested on lies. Comments: Julia always was jealous of Karen. Gold digger. Plain and simple. She's not even real community. But then anonymous accounts started posting Grandpa's recordings. The tide turned. Val had created truthaboutsunnyvale.com with every piece of evidence public. At the packed courthouse, Karen sat in conservative black, playing grieving granddaughter. Her attorney painted me as an opportunist who'd abandoned the neighborhood. Ellison started with the authenticated journal, played the recordings. The courtroom gasped when Karen's voice said, "Tell him it's the TV. He won't remember anyway." Financial evidence. The forensic accountant's testimony. Over $230,000 stolen. The judge asked for my statement. I stood. Your Honor, I love my grandfather. When my parents died, he held me together. He taught me community wasn't about perfect lawns, but about people. 3 years ago, they began excluding me with every fake fine and edited photo because I asked questions about the missing HOA money. Karen burst out. You're nothing. You're not even real community. I earned that house. The judge banged the gavel. Order. But Karen kept screaming about deposits and contracts. Ellison smiled. We've just heard a confession to fraud. Judge Harrison called a recess. When we returned, she ruled, I find sufficient cause to uphold the will of Gregory Moore. The house passes to Julia Moore. All evidence of financial crimes is referred to the district attorney for immediate investigation. Karen's attorney protested, but the judge cut him off. Your client just admitted to fraud in open court. I suggest you advise her to seek criminal defense counsel. She turned to me. MS. Moore, the estate is yours. Restraining order issued against Miss Mallory and any associated parties. 6 months later, I stood in the doorway of the renovated barn. now a community therapy center for families dealing with HOA abuse and inheritance fraud. The morning mist rolled across the fields Grandpa and I once walked. Mallory had been arrested 3 weeks after the hearing when security cameras caught her trying to break in at 2:45 a.m. She was awaiting trial on elder abuse, fraud, and theft. The FBI got involved after discovering she'd run similar schemes in 2 neighboring HOAs. Linda and other board members faced charges as accomplices. Pinnacle Development sued her for breach of contract. Her house of cards collapsed completely. I kept my job remotely, turning part of the property into a place where people could heal from petty rules and power-hungry Karens. The town embraced me. People who once believed Karen's lies apologized and shared stories of Grandpa bragging about his granddaughter Julia. Some former board members reached out, ashamed. Others never would. I'd learned blood, or HOA membership, didn't always mean family. I walked to the porch where Grandpa used to smoke his pipe, the swing repaired, journal resting on the seat beside me. My phone buzzed with a text from Val, coffee and eggs at 8. I'll bring the gossip about Karen's latest courtroom meltdown. I smiled, texting back, I'll make Grandpa's biscuits. As I headed inside, I stopped at the mantel where I'd placed Grandpa's ashes in a beautiful wooden urn. Beside it sat the unedited photo of him holding baby me, both laughing. No one could edit this one. No one could steal these memories. You were right, Grandpa, I whispered. The truth was stronger than their lies. And I was always your granddaughter, no matter what the bylaws said. I'd rename the house Second Chance Acres. Because that's what Grandpa gave me. A second chance at belonging, a second chance at home. The morning sun flooded the kitchen where new memories would be made, where truth had finally found its address. As I mixed the biscuit dough the way he taught me, I thought about the journal entry that meant the most. Julia is the keeper of my heart. When I'm gone, she'll be the keeper of the truth, and the truth will set her free. He was right. It had. I was finally free, and I was finally home.